I'm going to pull three words and I'll just dilate on them a bit. So I think that the question that I have in my mind as I came here was, how do you change a nation? How do you change a nation? I'll start with the first word. The first word is called integrity, right? If you have 90-something% of the people always worshiping the Lord or God, 71% praying in tongues, and yet 25% of GDP is lost to corruption, there's a problem what's being taught at the pulpit, right? But the pulpit is not the only place for change. It's the classroom as well. So Ghana has an integrity problem, and we have to admit that before we can develop, because we tend to focus in economics on the hardware of development. GDP, how many minerals do we export, per capita income parity, and all these nice things. But the real problem is the software, because a computer is only as good as its software. So a country that's not doing well, it's not just the hardware, right? It's the software. The software is corrupted. If the software is corrupted, you have to reboot it. And the place to reboot it is the home and the school. So if the country is losing 1/4 of its GDP to corruption, it means what's being taught in the classroom is not properly being instilled. So I'm not here to blame you for Ghana's problems. I'm going to say to you that you are not just part of the problem, you hold part of the key. Because look at the number of kids in school. Look at the amount of hours they spend in school. Yes, I listened to the panel that said kids spend more time at home, or at least the home is very important. But trust me, kids spend a lot of time at school. They talk about the triangle of trust. So we have to accept that people who've gone through Presby schools, Methodist schools, Anglican schools, they've gone to Catholic schools, and yet 25% of the GDP gets lost to corruption. So what did they learn in the school? That's a very important point. So we have to admit that of all the causes of our problems, the school is part of it, right? And integrity is missing in society. And the reason why I emphasize integrity is that if we don't go back to a character-based pedagogy, training, if we don't go back to, let me read what Lugard or somebody said. He says, if you're starting a country and the people's education doesn't instill in them the values and the character required to sustain development, you don't stand a chance. So we have to accept that part of the problem is lack of integrity, right? And we know what integrity is. I don't need to define it, but we are all teachers here. An easy way of teaching integrity, what's an integer? It's a whole number. And Jesus says it's better to be a negative or positive whole number than a fraction. That's what he says in Revelation. He says, you are neither hot nor cold. And because you are neither hot nor cold, I will spew you out of my mouth. So an integer is a whole number. We have to teach kids to be whole. That they should be the same. And Aisha was saying something today at the program that there isn't a different Aisha at home to a different Aisha because she's a pastor's wife as well. And then she's a partner at Pricewaterhouse. He says, I'm not a different Aisha at home, a different Aisha at church, and a different Aisha at work. It's the same Aisha. That's integrity. But it's like we go to church on Sunday and then we forget what was taught from Monday to Friday. Saturday we sort of reboot, and Sunday we go and give offerings. So we have to accept that if the country will change, integrity must be part. How do you instill integrity? Takes me to my second I. Instruction. Instruction is critical. Instruction. What is instruction? Instruction is how you pass on knowledge. Right? You are teachers. I'm not here to teach you what teaching is. This week somebody said to me, there's a difference between teaching and training. And that when it comes to integrity, you must train people. The Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. He says teaching is telling, but training is showing, which comes to Farida. So we must focus on showing, which means the teacher must be honest. You can't teach people integrity. You must show it. It must be demonstrated. So our schools must become places for demonstrating integrity. That means that we, the school board, the way we deal with the parents, the way we deal with the students, whether we are increasing school fees or changing the menu, we have to be transparent. Because if the school itself is doing coniferous things with the school fees and not being transparent, not allowing conversation, it's funny how we expect our government to be so transparent, yet we can't be transparent with our parents. We have to be. Because the students don't listen to what we say. They see how we run the schools. Am I making sense? So my point to you and my charge to you is that to inculcate integrity in society, the way we instruct must be very, very clear. And our instruction must be not just teaching, telling, but also showing. Instruction must also be delivered by people who see teaching not just as a career but a calling. It's very important. Somebody said to me this week that your career is what you're paid for. Your calling is what you're made for. So we need made for teachers, right? We denigrate the teaching profession. We don't pay teachers well. This is the whole country. But the point is that there are still excellent teachers. I am where I am because of my teachers. We have a speech day in 2 weeks. It wasn't picking up, my 98-year group. And then somebody said, we need to honor our teachers. Then the platform just woke up. Everybody's remembering their teachers, including the ones who were tough on them. Teachers are important. They're great. And we want to give prizes to all of them. Because we are because of what they did for us. They sacrificed. So teachers are leaders. This is critical. The instructor must not do it just because of money. And I'm saying this to teachers as well. And I'm not saying your reward is in heaven, but if you will be an instructor that will inculcate integrity and character, you must be doing it because you feel you're made for it, not because you're paid for it. This is very important. So we have to have that sense of balance. Whilst the government and school heads must pay teachers well, we must also see that the most appreciable asset in any business is people. Because in my company, when you buy a car today, you start depreciating it next year. If you buy a computer, it starts going bad. The only thing that improves is when you bring a national service person who knows next to nothing. After 4 years, they can host a morning show. That's value addition. That's leadership. So the most appreciable asset is people. But it's like in Ghana, we prioritize houses and cars and clothes above people. That's not right. So the issue of instruction is critical. And for us in the media, we have to also start a campaign to bring teachers back to the center of national development. Because the president can give a nice speech today, but what the student is listening to is what the teacher is telling them every day. So the teachers here, you are part of how to change the nation. Don't let anybody denigrate your place, because I'm standing here because of teachers. So instruction must be practical, but must be delivered by men and women of integrity, which means my third eye. The third eye is influence. Influence. Critical. Influence is not what we have converted social media to become. So now there are professions called influencer. He has 200 followers, 2,000 followers, and he monetizes their likes in a commercial way, but he has no values to impact. That's not influence. So we've even diluted the meaning of influence. So basically, I have 450,000 followers on Twitter. So companies come to me and say, I want you to be an influencer. Do you know my character? Do you know who I am? The fact that 450,000 people follow me, does that mean I should be followed? Do you get me? So let's not denigrate influence to number of people following you. Influence is being able to impart values. And a leader's definition is influence. And we're not talking of position. This past 3 weeks, we've been doing campaign in the Volta region, Eastern region, and Greater Accra region for flood victims. And I'll tell you this, the most influential people I've met in the past 3 weeks in every flooded community is not the politician, it's not the MP. It's the assemblyman. 80% of the assemblymen I've met are teachers. 80%, possibly more. We went to a school in a place called Tokpo. You cross the river before you go there. The assemblyman doubles as the headmaster. They brought over 250 women. He put them in a classroom. He asked the primary school to go home. He's teaching the JHS whilst he's calling radio stations to come and help him. He's a head teacher. He's a leader. So a lot of times we teach kids to aspire for political office because we've confused position with leadership. And we think that the person who wins the election is the leader. No, there's a difference between winning and leading. Leading is changing. This morning, an assemblyman who's a teacher in Pando somewhere, Pando Toko, sent me videos. He says, use it on your show. Our people are suffering. Where is the MP? Where are the GCEs? These are the leaders. So the issue of change is also about influence. So if you would choose between being a positional leader and an influential person, go without the position. Because there's nothing worse than being in position without influence. But if you have influence, the position will come. So let's train our kids not to just aspire for post. Leadership has nothing to do with elections. It has everything to do with bringing change. So my first eye is what? Integrity. It's the most important ingredient of leadership. Second eye is instruction. It is the key to national unlocking. And the other point is about learning. So the world has changed. We have to teach people how to learn. Please, am I making sense? So I came to say to you that, look, if you have 6 hours a day with 40 kids for 38 weeks in a year, you can change the country. You have more power than you think. Everywhere we've gone that they've had to produce a list of victims, because the head teachers are literate, they are leading. I went on an island of 1,200 people last week. No, was it this week? I don't remember. Tuesday, Monday. We rode by 3 minutes to the island. There were only 5 people on the island because the 1,200 people, the water cleared their houses. The assemblyman is the head teacher of the school on the island. He mobilized canoes to save the people. And he was still running around telling me, come and build something for us. He's an assemblyman. He's not even paid. That's leadership. So one of the things we've done is that we've elevated politicians and people like pastors and things, journalists, celebrities types, and our kids are following. No, those are not leaders. Leaders are people who make change. So let's also reward change agents in schools who are not necessarily like big shots. Because what you celebrate is what grows. I feel that if young people have the right understanding of servant leadership in this country, we have a chance. We have a chance. And so, how do you change a nation? Integrity through instruction and influence that will mold a child into the image we want. And the power is yours. You, the teachers, the school owners, don't let the government policy make you feel you have no agency. Private schools are very important. The fact that free HHS has come and there's a bit of politics around it, trust me, your schools are important. I'm not here to do politics, but I'm saying to you that if we took all of you out of the educational system, it would collapse. Because you are standard setters. Even those who have kids in public schools, they look up to you guys. Because you try all the new things. Innovation doesn't come from the public sector. It comes from the private sector. And what is business? It is innovation and marketing. You guys are the innovative guys. So don't let the difficult business environment, the fact that you are being regulated as if you are the enemies to the system, don't let that discourage you at all. You are making a difference. In fact, the politicians have their kids in your schools. If they didn't believe in you, they won't put their kids in your schools. So the power is there. Don't be intimidated. No politician stays in power forever. But the country will continue. So I came to charge you. Be strong. Because you guys will change the country. Because it's the innovation you bring. STEM, robotics, Charles Antipim, the science set. I mean, if Charles, I struggled with cations and anions. What is that? What is an anode? Like they'll come and write on the blackboard with equations. He comes to my house with my kids. He teaches them what a resistor is. In 2 seconds, they get it. So when you start from the practical, when you solve the question, you understand it. I passed core science, but I don't understand half of the theories. Do you understand? So it's like and it's private sector that's doing it. You can chew and pour and pass, but you don't know. I got A in core science, but if you when I watched NSMQ last month, I couldn't answer one question. Meanwhile, I got 5 A's and 2 B's. I got A in core maths and I couldn't answer one. And I was cheering. I couldn't answer one question. I've been miseducated, guys. so my point is, the kinds of innovations I see. I went to Crave. I went on a guy. He says he has a 3D printing. Look, it may be expensive. Let's do it. Because if you do it as a private school and we see your kids excel, it will force the government to do it. Don't wait for government. No. So do robotics. Force the kids to learn. They have to pay for it. The government will find a way. Don't let their regulation and all the things they say. Because without you guys, we'll still be doing blackboards. We'll not even be doing whiteboard markers. No computers, nothing. Now they say there's something called send loss. So I interviewed some guy who says, now we have a system where we are able to do distance learning. It's because of you guys. It's not because of them. And I'm not against politicians, but I'm saying to you that sometimes because the media gives politicians and public sector a lot of coverage, you feel intimidated. Don't be. Because even in the media that I am here because a private person invested in media. Kwesi Chum, he brought the whole thing that we all do. So it's the same thing. Innovation is always championed by you guys. And sustainable business is always innovation first before marketing. And you guys are the heart of innovation. So I say you can change the country. But work together. Let's not work in silos. There should be an annual gathering of private school heads with a position paper that they invite the media to a press conference and be fearless. Don't be afraid. When we said there was no food in schools, all the Charles people kept quiet. The minister and his people, my friend, the deputy minister, he went to my school. He says, Bernard, I went to Presec, there's food. I said, really? So you think I'll wake up in the morning and come and tell you there's no food in Presec because I want to make you unpopular? I wish he were here. I'll tell him to his face. He's my good friend. The truth is that if the private sector and we, the parents, don't speak up, politicians will use their platform to bully us. And we can't stand that. Now, the head teachers, the last time they had a CHAS meeting, the Opokwari headmaster, who's the CHAS president, was shouting across the roof, we need to change the way we do school feeding. I told you that 6 months ago. So you guys, trying to work alone is a problem. Don't try and be a hero. But if there's a platform, 500 private schools, come on. That's powerful. Elections are coming. Let the NDC and NPP come and listen to you and tell you how they're going to make schools sustainable. Write them a position paper and say, all our members will not support you if you don't do this. They will come. Don't be intimidated. Am I making sense to you guys? You are very powerful. Private schools, look at all the innovation in education. So it's not just about grants. Let's work together. That's the problem of Ghanaians. We all want to go our individual ways. When they split us, they can intimidate us. But I have confidence that this is the beginning of a big thing. Next year will be bigger. Next 2 years will be much, much bigger. Because you're going to bring somebody else. So don't forget, integrity is critical. We are the instructors. And let's push influence. Final thing I'll say. If you do instruction and influence over a long period, you can build things in your own image, which is what we want to do. So we must be consistent. We must be consistent in our intensity. If we are consistent, we will change the country one student at a time. I really pray for you that next year, next 2 years, this will be a bigger platform, not just in size, but in impact. And your story will be told by those you've trained. And your reward will not just be in heaven, but in the fruits that their excellence will bear. Grant.